All right. So why don't you tell us how you got started in music? Like, well, where was your beginning?
So my beginning was early. It was at an early age. I took a liking to music, I guess, around 6, 7, 8 years old. I grew up in the sort of early 80s during the time where rap music was like, and hip hop was, at its sort of genesis.
Okay.
And, so I started like little rap groups and stuff like that. Everybody was in the neighborhood was rapping and stuff like that. So that was kind of my first sort of intro into it, like my first sort of interest in it, or entrance in it rather. So it's that's kind of how I got my start. And then just from there, it took its turn to, playing instruments and getting into stuff, which I'm sure you ask about, but I'm just saying like that was kind of my interest. And then, like I said, my parents, they weren't musicians, but they both thought they were.
Okay.
They both were singers. My dad would walk around the house singing all the time. And so my mom was like in the church choir and stuff like that too. So, I mean, I kind of had a little bit of exposure to that style of music or just music in general. And that's kind of what my entrance into the whole music industry, how it started.
Okay. Now that's interesting, y'all, because I just learned something that I did not know. Let me find out you was out here rapping, Terence.
Man, look, let me tell you something. I had a whole rap group, man. Let me tell you, like in middle school, I had a whole rap group, man. It was so funny. Like I went to my my high school reunion a few years ago. Yeah. And met up with some of those guys. We had a group. Look, the name of the group was called FDMC, the 4 Deaf MCs. Bam. Tell me that wasn't dope. For the 90s when I was like in like middle school, like please, that was dope. So yeah, we used to rap, man. My name, I'll tell you what my rap name was.
Okay, what was your stage name?
T-Rock.
T-Rock.
I was T-Rock.
All right.
T-Rock. I could rap, man. I could freestyle. I'm telling you, I was into this whole thing.
Did you name yourself that or did
you? No, actually one of the other group members did. Like it was that time where everybody was trying to come up with like rap names, MC this, MC that. And
okay.
It was like it was first, I was like MC T-Rock. So I was like, T-Rock we just stuck with T-Rock.
T-Rock so just stuck. That's what it was. Okay.
T-Rock.
Well, we will go with.
See, T-Rock.
I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you bust the flow because it's
man,
been
look,
many.
Hey, nah. Man, I can't rap no more.
Right. Look. We have moved on to other things.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, I know that you play a lot of instruments, so why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about, because like you said, you were kind of dabbling with rapping, but you became an instrumentalist.
Yep.
What instrument did you start with, and then from there, what all did you learn how to play?
Okay, so my very first instrument was the drums. So, I mean, that's typical for, little boys and church boys especially to get into drums. So yeah, it started with drums, man. I was at a church, and this was really when my sort of interest really peaked in music. Like I was, my family had moved from Texas to Louisiana, and then we had started going to a church there in Louisiana in the city that we were in. And then, just being the new person around in the neighborhood and all of that kind of stuff, I kind of took a liking. The drummer was my age.
Okay.
So he and I kind of got close, and then, and that's kind of was my entrance into that. So like I remember sitting in church like on Sundays, like, oh my God, like moving your hands like a certain way and then being able to move your feet.
That was so,
yeah, that was really like exciting to me. So, I mean, that's where it started. That was my first instrument. And then believe it or not, from there, I went to saxophone.
Oh.
So yeah, and one of the reasons for that was, so the drummer I was just telling you about that was at my church, his whole family was musicians. So he had an older brother, and we'll talk about him later.
Okay.
He had an older brother, which was a multi-instrumentalist. And I thought that was like the coolest thing. Like this dude, I will watch him get off the drums and get up and pick up a saxophone, then get on the piano and all of that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then from there, I started playing piano actually pretty late in high school.
Okay.
So it was around the end of my 10th grade year. No, around the end of my 10th grade year in high school.
Okay.
And I started playing piano, and I immediately picked it up. I could play a song. From the time I started like playing on the piano, I could play music within probably about a month after I started, because that's how interested I was in it. It was like a toy to me. I was doing it every day, hours and hours and hours and hours on end. So it's like, that's where I went. So, all right. So I'm not going to name all of the instruments. We'll be here too long. But so piano, I mean, everything on keys from there, all the keyboards, organs and stuff like that. And then I picked up guitar. Then I picked up the bass. And then from there, I went to college to get my degree in music, which, you know, you kind of have to be versed on multiple instruments in that. So, I mean, I kind of, the primary ones I did there were like things like brass instruments, trumpets. I did sousaphone for a while, and then I did some woodwinds. I did more saxophone. I did clarinet, flute, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much the extent of without going into all of the, you know, sort of secondary instruments, or what I would call secondary instruments. Did y'all catch
that? So he has a music degree.
Yeah.
Go ahead, shout out the HBCU.
Grambling State University, the place where everybody is somebody. That's right, Grambling State University. Yeah, that's where my music degree is. I mean, and that's where I really got a lot of my training from too. I mean, I owe a lot of what I do and what I learned and stuff from just being there at a university around teachers that were interested in teaching musicians and, you know, just other students as well. I mean, we all made each other better. So, yeah.
And it's important to know that because I did not major in music, I majored in something else.
Yeah.
Because I went to Texas Southern University. HBCU. But the music degree was a lot to take on. I mean,
it was.
People think that it's like a walk in the park, but it's not easy at all.
Not easy. Yeah.
Shout out to you for making it happen and staying with it.
Yeah, and from there, I mean, a lot of the people I started with, they didn't make it. You know, a lot of people end up either dropping out or changing majors. Because when I went to college, oddly enough, it's different now, but like the accreditation and stuff was different. So like the amount of hours that you had to have, especially if you were doing something like music education versus something like performance in music.
Okay.
So, and I started in music education. I eventually switched over to performance, but like it was basically like a double degree, like a double major you were doing.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember it being upwards of about 180 hours overall that you had to complete before graduation. And then, you know, going to school in Louisiana, it's different than it was in a lot of other states. To even get certified to teach, like you had to pass the graduate exam to get certified. So it wasn't none of that like you can graduate and then get certified later.
Right.
Like you don't even graduate until you take that exam and pass it. So yeah, it was tough. It was rough, but I mean, it was, like I said, I wouldn't change anything about it.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that leads me to my next question. What was like one of the toughest hurdles that you had to overcome in your music journey and in your experience?
Wow, the toughest hurdle. So it was definitely getting my degree. Okay. I mean, that was like really, really tough. I mean, especially when I was able to, you know, at the risk of sounding self-aggrandizing here, I was really good at what I did. I could play by ear really well. And when you have someone that can do that, especially at that age, it kind of makes things like getting a degree in music and learning to read music and all of this kind of stuff. It puts you in that mindset of like, why am I doing this? When I'm already good at this, I'm making money, I can do this already. So it was just that sort of challenge that was really, really the thing to get past for me. Now, other than that, specifically in the industry, it was just really the toughest thing about it was just having the patience to wait it out because, you know, as we've talked about before, and what I try to tell people all the time is that, you know, this is something that takes patience. You don't necessarily move up this ladder really, really quickly, and it can take time. And then you have people telling you, especially during the time I grew up where, you know, being a musician isn't a real job and all of that kind of stuff. And you have to fight past that stuff and believe in what you want to do and, you know, who you are. So those are just some of the challenges that I have, but definitely the toughest thing I had was like just getting through college and trying to get out of there, man, and start life. You know?
Yeah, and you said something right there. In the music industry and being a person who has a passion for music, you have to overcome a lot of criticism, a lot of skepticism about, is this going to pan out? Like, what's your plan B? That is the number one question that musicians get asked.
Yeah.
Because it's not looked upon as a real substantial job.
I mean, it is more so now than it was, you know, say 20, 25 years ago, now that things have changed. But, you know, especially in the time from people like our parents' age that came up in a different era.
Right.
Where, you know, it was the thing was to, you know, get a a good job, working job, support your family,
right,
all of that kind of stuff. And stuff like music and arts and stuff like that was just seen as like a pastime.
right,
like
a hobby.
A hobby. Like, this is nothing you do. Like, what, are you serious? You're going to be a musician? Like, what?
Right.
Like, you know, and then to put on top of that, musicians had a bad reputation. So, I mean, it was like no parent just really wanted their child to be a musician. It was like the doctors and lawyers, you know, I want you to go to school to be a doctor, lawyer, that kind of thing. Like,
something guaranteed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a musician, artist, or band looking to make some serious passive income and build a huge fan base? Then you should absolutely start a YouTube channel today. And that's because right now, YouTube is the biggest opportunity for bands and musicians to make money and build a huge following around their craft. And this is the reason that the premier YouTube QuickStart course for musicians was created. This course is designed to get you up and running on YouTube very quickly and easily. And the best part is it's completely free and you can get instant access to it at the link in the description of this video.
So tell me, Terence, what are you listening to right now? Are you studying anything? Any artists or musicians?
Yeah. So I'm always listening and studying somebody. Like, because it's such an integral part of what I do. I'm always having to do it, but just on my own voluntarily, I tend to seek out a lot of unknown artists.
Okay.
So I'm always searching like SoundCloud and things like that for artists and stuff that, you know, aren't mainstream, that you don't normally hear on the radio. Just for the sake the fact that they're tend to be a little bit more creative. You know what I'm saying? Like, people who aren't signed to labels, they have the freedom to kind of do what they want to do and how they want to do it. And they're not under, you know, the whole system and trying to get their stuff on the radio necessarily. There's a little bit more of a creative vibe in that than what you would normally hear. So I search out those things and kind of study them and just see the ideas that people are coming up with. And that helps keep my creative juices flowing as well. So that's some of the things I'm listening to. And of course I listen to the mainstream stuff. I mean, it's because I have to perform it and play it all the time. So I mean, I have to listen to that. So I mean, it's all of that is in my Ingrams at the same time, but just what I'm searching out to study, it's basically the artist that I can find, somebody that's unknown, somebody that's in another country that's doing a different style of music or different type of music or whatever. That's the kind of stuff I search out.
You hear that? So if you're on SoundCloud, Terence Fisher may be listening to your music.
Oh, absolutely.
At the moment.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's good that you do that because it's something fresh and new.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we all know that, like, in the music industry, that's a big deal. So tell me, how important is it, do you think, for musicians to remain innovative, fresh, you know, just open-minded?
That's a really good question. I think it's really important, but not for the sake of, you know, anybody else thinking that you're innovative and fresh. I think it's just important to do it for yourself.
Right.
You know, to know that you can have a bit of an originality to yourself in what you do, and that what you're doing is not necessarily copied from someone else's style, or, you know, like what we used to call back in the day, biting off somebody else's style. like you, it's a bit of a ego boost, or not necessarily ego boost, but there's an ego part of it. But it's just like a self sort of serving thing where you can say, I'm being innovative. And I think that's what ultimately kind of feeds our soul in this whole music thing that we're doing in the first place. Like, it's, you know, one of the reasons we all get into it is for stuff like money and fame and all of that kind of stuff. But there's another part of it that, you know, we're expressing ourselves, and we're putting ourselves out there. And I think ideally what we all want is to have a little bit of an originality and be as innovative as possible. So everything that we're doing, or everything that you can do to keep things fresh and innovative, always do that. And it's, you know, it's really refreshing now because, again, like I say, we're in a new musical era where, you know, you can do that and you don't have to worry about not being signed to a label or your label demanding you do a particular thing. So yes, it's really important to do that just for self.
Exactly. So speaking of that, you mentioned how things are so different.
Yeah.
What would you say is the greatest difference between, like, when we started, obviously, and seeing the evolution of music until today? What has been the greatest change in the music industry?
Really good question as well. I would point to the one word I would use to sum it up is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one word I would use to sum it up. And what I mean by that is just, again, the freedom to do things the way that we want to do without being controlled by, outside influences, things like music labels telling you what to do, telling you what to record, telling you how many albums you need to put out, all of that kind of stuff. You have the freedom, and you can, the playing field has sort of been leveled. There are successful people out there just on YouTube, man, making YouTube videos with millions and millions of followers. Absolutely. And making millions and millions of dollars a year just by making videos of their own music and performing on, putting up a camera and performing on YouTube. So, that's the biggest thing for me. And I think that's one of the most sort of encouraging thing for us musicians and artists as well, because we can do that. All that's available to us now.
Absolutely.
We can get out there and just start a YouTube channel, get on Instagram, get on Facebook or whatever, and start performing. And it's like, we could make a serious living out of that. It's Absolutely. No longer, again, like you have to search out the labels. Again, that's one of the biggest difference and one of the biggest evolutions that I've seen. And that's, I think, one of the most important, because if people really, we have this thing of, there's a principle that I forget what it's called, but like when you grow up in a different time and you tend to see things from a different time versus now. So like people who are only like in their 20s and stuff like that now, they don't understand what I'm saying from like time of, 20, 30, 40 years ago, where it was different. Like you had to hustle hard, man. Like it was, you get signed by a label or you're not going to make it. Like,
and you could get signed by a label and you could also be shelved too.
Right.
Like
absolutely.
There's so many
there was no guarantees.
Untapped into talented individuals in the world that never made it to any type of platform, social media, or public streaming, because we were in a different age.
Yeah, that's right. And then like, so there was no guarantees that anybody would make it. The only thing we see is the people who did make it. So, that's like, you had to hustle hard. And now the fact that you can literally just buy a camera or use your phone and, sit the phone up in your bedroom, record some videos of yourself performing your own original songs and make millions of dollars off of that. That's like groundbreaking. But that's like one of the biggest changes I've seen. Like that's the biggest evolution for musicians. And it's only getting better.
Only getting better. And I would say, because we're both from different generations than what we see today.
Yeah.
If you're of the generation where you weren't so tech savvy, get a book, read, look on YouTube, figure out how to do it, because the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
If you'll make it happen.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So here's what I'm going to say. We're talking about the new age and everything. Let's say there's someone that's in their 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s, and they're thinking about, they've always wanted to learn an instrument. Would you say it's too late, or like what advice would you give them?
Absolutely not too late. Absolutely not too late. Like I teach people who are in their 60s now, who are just, a lot of people have those, what we used to refer to as midlife crises and all of that kind of stuff. And, however you want to judge that. But there are people who in their 60s and 70s have this sort of new, breath of life for them and want to explore things that they never got a chance to explore in their early lives for whatever reason. And they start to learn instruments. They skydive. They do all of these things, and they really can do it. Like, I'm not saying that you become a Mozart overnight, because, that kind of stuff takes time, but can you do it? Absolutely. And can you become great at it? Absolutely. So there's no limit. There's no ceiling. There's no, wall that's holding you back because of your age, because of, even your gender, your disposition in life. If you have, a passion for music, that's all it takes. It just takes a desire to be able to do it. If you want to play the guitar, the piano, you want to sing, you want to start today, no matter what your age is, you can do that starting today. There's nothing holding you back. And not only that, can you start today from, just from what we were talking about, you could actually be quite successful at it. It's not there. The whole YouTube thing that we were talking about, and, social media just in general, there are people in their 60s and 70s doing that right now and making money.
Absolutely.
So it's like, that's what I meant by the playing field being level. You know what I'm saying? There's opportunity out here for all of us. So absolutely not. That's one of the things I've always talked about with people. And one of the questions I've gotten pretty much my whole music career, when I started teaching music and stuff like that, is it too late? Is it, should I do this? I'm in my 30s or 40s, 50s. I'm like, no.
Right.
So no, absolutely not too late. There's no ceiling or wall on it.
That's cool. So what you said about the age and like when we were probably earlier, not to age us because we're young forever.
Yes. Yes.
But I will say you mentioned that there's no ceiling, there's no age limit, and that goes in hand with what you said about the freedom. The music industry now, you have people that are breaking into the industry in their 40s, in their 50s.
Absolutely.
And when we were back in our generation, that was just unheard of.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was especially for women, there was a very
yeah, I mean, if you weren't like 20, like by the time literally, and
right,
like by the time you hit 25, like it was
downhill.
Yeah, it was downhill from there. And then even in your early 20s, you had to, as a woman, you had to have, this, had banging body, you had to look a certain way, and all of that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's definitely different now. Where now, again, you could be.
You can be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can just be yourself,
express
and there's
yourself,
so much freedom in that. Like, music is therapy. So I agree with what you said about you can do it at any age because it's kind of like starting to paint. It's therapeutic. So
it is.
Learning music can do all of those things.
Absolutely.
For you. So tell me, Terence, what would you say is the most important ingredient for a person who's trying to stand the test of time in music?
Well, I mean, I think the answer is in your question. Stand the test of time. It's patience.
Okay.
It's absolutely patience. It's, I think that's one of the things that is unfortunate about the society that we live in today. This, what we kind of refer to as the microwave society, where we want things done really, really quickly.
Right.
We want to be able to pop something in the microwave and it come out in 30 seconds. We want to be able to start a workout program and lose 50 pounds in 30 days.
Yeah.
We want to get rich in the next 90 days, that kind of stuff. Or we want a great relationship, the love of our life, and fall in love and get married, off a dating app in the next 30 days.
Right.
And honestly, I mean, and I get it, there's.
Don't do that shit.
Yeah. Don't try it. Watch your kids. Don't try it. So no, but like seriously, and I get it. There's room for that kind of stuff in the world. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have its value. What I am saying is that there are things like music and having a passion in music and becoming great at something, having a meaningful relationship, all of those kind of things, they inherently take time.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I think one of the lost sort of personality traits that we've lost nowadays is patience. We want everything overnight. We want to be able to start an Instagram and get, 100,000 followers again by next week. And it just doesn't happen like that for most people. And then a lot of people get discouraged because it doesn't happen for them. But if they had, gone into it just understanding that stuff takes time. So I think the answer to that is absolutely patience. It's like you got to have patience. You got to have, if this is something you want to be able to do, you got to put yourself in the mind frame of, let me put together a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, 15, 20-year plan, not the next 3 months kind of thing. All those short-term goals are important. It's just that you got to have some sort of long-term plan in this and plan for the longevity of it, because you may not be able to play. If you pick up the piano today, it may take you 6 months to play your first song and not even be able to play it well, just kind of tickle the ivories a little bit. So, I mean, it just may do that. But if you have a passion for it and it's something you want to do, give yourself that time. So patience is the biggest thing.
Patience, guys. Like he said, patience is a lost art that we have to start realizing it's just a part of life.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
takes time. Good things take time.
Great things take more time.
That's right.
If you want to be great at something, you got to go into it with the mindset of it's going to take time. Now, you may get lucky. You may be one of the lucky few who started an Instagram today and put out a video and it gets 1 million hits, and you may find the love of your life tonight when you hit the club. Like that may happen. I'm just saying, it's just like it's for the majority of us.
It can happen.
It can. It's not that it's not possible. It's just that it's not the odds are not for us in most of situations like that, where you're looking for something that's meaningful, like a relationship, passion in music, anything like that. It's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. So Let's play a little game.
Game. Let's do it.
Game time. So we're going to play this or that.
This or that. Okay.
And we're going to keep it like in the context of music.
Okay.
So this or that, slow jams or upbeat?
Slow jams. It's always the slow jams for me.
What?
Man. It's the slow jams, man. I'm telling you, like, okay, yeah, 90s R&B, even 80s R&B. That's like the classic, even 70s, man, like the classic slow jams. I love my up-tempo stuff, don't get me wrong, but if I got to choose one, like my Desert Island, I got to choose one of them, it's the slow jams.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree. I'm giving you shade, but I agree.
You the slow jam too?
I got to have the slow jams. Okay.
Yeah.
So how about this? Major or minor?
In music?
In music.
Okay, so major key or minor key? Ooh.
Do you like happy things? Or do you like
That's
more?
a really good question. Oh my God. Oh, let me see. Oh, that's a really good one. Okay. I think I'm Oh, that's such a toss up. Minor. I'm gonna say minor.
He wants both of them. So that's
okay. Yeah, I do. I think I equally want both of them, but I think if I just had to choose, I would say minor, because I think minor can, if you're looking at it from an emotional standpoint, like you just said, happy, sad, I think there is more emotions involved under the sad umbrella, sad, depressed, things like that, versus happy. You kind of just have happy, joy,
right.
kind of thing. So I think I could be more expressive or have a wider variety of expression with doing stuff in a minor key. So
okay,
that's a good question though.
Cool. Look, I don't know. Don't even ask.
What you got? Okay, minor or major for you? What you got?
Probably minor.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm all about the love.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hopeless romantic type.
Sure.
Don't.
I mean, that's to be fair. There's some love stuff that's in major keys, but I mean, it's like.
I guess you could be happy in love too.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah, you could C major is happiness. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I guess, but it is those kind of minor vibes where you kind of sense that like love, that longing and stuff. That's what I mean by minor being a little bit more expressive.
Yes,
so, yeah.
expressive. Okay, so how about R&B or jazz?
Oh God, that's another one. Okay, so it depends. I think in jazz, it's such a wide variety. We would have to be talking about either contemporary jazz, straight ahead jazz, or something like that. Whereas in my mind, I kind of view R&B as more holistic of like just the entire genre. So I think I would say R&B.
Okay.
I think I would say R&B.
I mean, that's a good answer. You can't go wrong with any either answer.
Yeah.
So
that's a hard one though. Like, so major, minor, and jazz and R&B. So, okay. Major, jazz, and minor R&B. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I would have to say.
So if you had to like put yourself, would you categorize yourself or like what is are you in a genre? Are you not in a genre? You know how we have R&B singers, pop singers. What are you?
I don't know. I know what my sort of expertise is, or my sort of passion, where my passions lie. I don't necessarily put myself in a category. I'm fine with whatever category I'm put in, but as far as me saying myself, oh, I am this type of artist, I'm a that type of artist. I can say what I'm not more so than I can say what I am. I mean, it's hard rock. I'm not a hard rock piano player or something something like that. But most of those styles, I think like the jazz, the R&B, even gospel music, stuff like that is kind of a little bit all in the same vein. So it's kind of like just a sort of an amalgamation of all of those things. So I don't know. You could call me a jazz artist. You could call me an R&B artist. You could call me a gospel artist, smooth jazz artist, contemporary jazz, straight ahead, whatever. So I
whatever.
know.
See, he's saying that he's not going to say this, but that's because he really pretty much can play anything and everything. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I got to give him his plug.
Yeah, thank you. But it's still like, I don't know. Like I do have a passion for certain things. Like one of the questions I get all the time is like, me being a multi-instrumentalist, what music do I like to play on each instrument? And it's different. It really is different. Like if I'm on drums or something like that, I really like some good, sort of up-tempo fusion type of music or something like that. If I'm on piano, I like smooth stuff. I like smooth jazz. if I'm on, bass or something like that, or like funk, because you got to play funk on the bass. So like something with guitar, from a guitar, I like some, some country stuff. I like some rock stuff here and there. So it's a toss up for me. Yeah. That's why it's hard to categorize myself and say, oh, I'm this. And because I perform in all of these sort of veins a lot, all the time. I mean, I play keys and drums and guitar and bass about not necessarily equal amounts, but fairly equal amounts. So it's like my mind is always on something different. Yeah.
So I know we've worked together. Mm-hmm. We've done club and we've done corporate.
Corporate clubs, yeah.
So which one do you prefer?
Oh, so it's definitely, it's something like, that's kind of a different ball game for me too. So, I mean, if I just had to choose one, it's definitely the corporate stuff because it pays more money.
Right,
I mean, that's, of course. But there is something to be said about the club stuff, man, like where it's, you just kind of have, it's a little bit more free.
The freedom.
Yeah, you can exercise a little bit. You can show your chops and stuff like that. And it's just kind of vibing out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Whereas with the corporate stuff, it's, a little bit more systematized. You got to be, if the wedding, we're playing for a wedding reception or a company party, they want to hear a certain song, you playing that song.
That's right.
And, it's you more like a DJ because you're providing a soundtrack for them to dance to and all of that kind of stuff. Versus a club where it's just people, sometimes they're just coming there to sit and listen or sit and eat, and you're the secondary thing.
Right.
Corporate situations, you're the primary form of entertainment. So it's like people, if you don't play nothing, people ain't going to dance. So yeah, I mean, I would, if I had to choose one, I would definitely say corporate. But I mean, I like them both equally.
Okay. So as a musical director, mm-hmm. I want to know who is like the person you would love to be the MD for?
Oh, wow. So, wow, that list is pretty long. So let me see. let me see who would be at the top of that list. I think it would be somebody like, I would say somebody like a Janet Jackson.
Okay.
And the reason is because she has usually when she goes out on tour, she has a huge production. As, with most artists do, but she has a really, really huge production. And I remember early on, in my career, looking at some of her videos and stuff that she was doing on tour and just seeing like all of the stuff that was happening in the background. I was like, oh, it would be so cool to be on stage. So that's one person that comes to mind. Somebody else would be somebody like Brian McKnight. Just to be like, that dude is such an idol of mine, as, one of my favorite artists. Just to be in his presence, like I would be like so I would love to do something with him and his band. But I mean, I could go on and on about that. I mean, there's some country artists, there's even some rock bands and stuff that I would like, oh my God, that would be really cool to be with.
Yeah. So we need y'all to tag Janet in this.
Tag Janet. Janet, you hear me?
And let her know
Listen.
That we have an MD extraordinaire, and he's great, girl. He gonna have everything worked out.
Call me, Janet. Call me. Call me, Janet. Please call me.
Janet. I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, call me, Janet. Please. Please call me. I've been waiting for you to call me anyway.
So, tell me, Terence.
Mm-hmm.
I love stories. So,
okay.
I want to know, what is your most memorable experience while you've been, and I know you probably have hundreds of them, but tell me, I like to laugh. So, let's keep it happy,
Okay. All right. Happy stories that I've experienced. Okay, so happy or funny. Okay.
Funny, yeah.
Okay, so I would say probably the funniest, one of the funniest moments was on a New Year's Eve gig.
Okay.
And the audience, they got drunk super early. It was like 8 o'clock. Clock strikes 12.
I love these audience. I love that kind of.
Oh my God, like they got drunk like 8 o'clock. So. And this audience, I mean, they came ready to party. It was the perfect, like, the audience that you want when you're playing something, because they clap for everything. They're going to dance on everything you do. So, but they were like, by the time 9, 10 o'clock came, they were super intoxicated.
Okay.
So, and they come to wild out on New Year's Eve. So there was this one lady and, I sit stage left when I'm on stage. So she was sitting here and I'm kind of facing this way when I'm on keys so I can direct the band. And she was in my peripheral right here. She kept looking at me the whole night, and the other band members caught on to it, and they was like, man, you see that lady checking you out? And I was like, yeah, I was trying not to pay attention, but yeah, I see it. So I mean, she was just waiting for her chance to like pounce on me some kind of way.
She was coming.
So, yeah, when we got ready to do the countdown, this lady found her way up on stage. We were on an elevated stage, and she found her way up some kind of way. Didn't go around to the steps. She crawled up on the stage because it was kind of a high stage. Crawled up on me and stood next to me, and then we were doing the countdown. By this point, the rest of the band members, it was just like tickled. They was laughing. It was like, and I was, because I'm stupid too. I'm sitting up there like,
look, I was like, who is this?
That's exactly what. That's why they were laughing at me, because I was sitting up there like, lady, like, what is it that you want right now? So, as we're doing the countdown, we get to 3, 2, 1, and then we play All Lang Syne for the thing. This lady comes behind me and she grabs me like this and like
bear hug.
Yeah, and she grabs my arms. Like, so she's bear hugging me like this, and it makes me take my hands off the keys, and I'm like, lady, what are you doing? And she starts kissing me on the top of my head. Like, and holding me like holding me tight. And like, I'm talking about like her lips was all wet from drinking and stuff. I'm telling you, it was the craziest. So again, imagine by this time the band had lost it. They couldn't even play no more. Like, the drum. Oh my God.
I would have felt like right on the stage.
So, and I can't hold my facial expressions. So I'm like doing this the whole time because this lady is like sloppy drunk, and I'm like, oh my God. So, and here's the thing about it. She holds it for like a good 15, 20 seconds, like before she even let me go. And she's just going in on the top of my head. And I'm like, alrighty then, let me see what we're going to do there. So, I mean, it was like one of them things like I had to, like, somebody please give me a paper towel and some hand sanitizer or something so I can get this stuff off my head. And that was, that was one of the funniest things because we laughed about it like the rest of the night, man. It was like, I mean, they talked about me after the gig for so long. So yeah, that's probably one of the funniest things that's happened. I mean, I got plenty of stories.
I wonder if she even remembers that.
Probably not. I think she was so drunk. Now, to be fair, she seemed to be like
coherent.
Yeah, mostly. Okay. I mean, you could tell she was drunk for sure, but I mean, because she was, even the way she walked, she was stumbling a little bit, but she seemed to be coherent enough to like
climb on stage.
Yeah, like she had made it up in her mind earlier that night.
And
like,
French kiss your head.
Yes, like she was going in on top of my head, man. I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
that's exciting,
man. Look, so yeah, we have these crazy stories on gigs, man. Some of the funniest stuff and craziest stuff happens. So like,
yeah, that's like what makes it so fun.
Oh yeah,
like the camaraderie and just the good times, the memories, the stories.
We got plenty, man. We got plenty. Got plenty. So yeah.
Well, so I mean, like you say, music it comes pretty flowingly, naturally to you. But tell me, do you still practice? How do you stay sharp?
Oh, I absolutely still practice. One, because like I have to, like it's, I'm always performing. So that kind of requires you to learn music and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't really have a necessarily a systematic way that I approach my practice now. Like I don't have a schedule like I do, like, 15 minutes every Monday and Tuesday, like it's that kind of thing.
Right.
Because I have to do it. It's just such an integral part of what I do already. It's like I just kind of do this. So like I can give you an example of what a day would look like for me in terms of like learning music and practicing. So if I have something I have to perform for, it's a Monday and I got something I got to play that weekend. Somebody sent me a set list. I'll put that set list up, see the stuff on it that I know and that I don't know, pull the stuff up that I don't know, start learning it, listening to it and going over it, learning on whatever instrument that I'm going to be playing on that gig and, practicing that way. And then outside of that, as I mentioned earlier, I do listen to I search out a lot of unknown artists. So I'm learning a lot of what the unknown artists are doing as well, just to have that knowledge in myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I pretty much play or practice on at least one instrument, most of the time 2 or 3, because, I sit at my computer, my workstation is right here, my computer is right here in front of me, and my keyboard is right here in front of me. My bass guitar is right next to me, my acoustic guitar is right next to me. So, I mean, I'll just be sitting there sometimes and just, let me play this song real quick.
Okay.
So I do that really often throughout the day. Even, I'm a night owl too, so I do it throughout the night. So, yeah, that's kind of what my non-system is of playing. So, I mean, I do it daily. So it's kind of like working out. Like if you go to the gym and you kind of just have this way that you work out, it's not really a system. You just go do some some sit-ups, some chest exercises, this kind of stuff. And you make that sort of a routine that you do over time. So it's more like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of play pretty much every day. Like if people look at your Instagram, you play there all the time. So I know people are wondering like how long did it take before people really start catching on to what you were doing and, your videos took off?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So as far as social media is concerned, it depends. So because all of it is a little ambiguous because it's dependent on like the platform. So say when video started getting really popular on Facebook, this was around 2014, 2015, I believe, when they first brought in the ability to go live and all of that. And video started becoming sort of the dominant thing, even on Instagram, because you remember Instagram was just about pictures at first.
Absolutely.
So like there was a sort of evolution where it became that. And each of these platforms have their own algorithms and stuff like that, where it's like, they put out a new feature on it and then they give attention to the people who are using that feature kind of thing. So it's really ambiguous. So when did people start paying attention to me? I guess they kind of always have to some extent. There's always been like these sort of surges in popularity.
Okay.
So there's been sort of like it's flowing here, it's just going here at first, and then all of a sudden you have this big surge, and then hundreds of thousands of people are have liked your video or watched your video or shared your video or whatever the case may be. So I can't really say a specific date when it, when attention started coming to, because it's always been sort of that up and down, hill and valley kind of thing. So it's been in the past 7-8 years, it's been just a lot of that. I think I've been lucky on one of the lucky sides of this whole thing, just to create some buzz and get the attention that I've gotten. But it could go away at any time. It could level out. It could, dip. And then it could shoot back up again. So, I mean, in my mind, I don't see it as like I got popular this time, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. So.
Well, I would say it was not luck. I would say it was consistency.
Well, thank you.
Because you've been consistent even when there were no watchers.
Yeah.
And that is what you have to do in order to be seen. You have to do it when no one's looking. So.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Because that's one thing I tend to teach and tell people all the time. It really is about the consistency. And that's one of the reasons why I don't see it in my mind as something like that, because for me, it's just what I was doing.
Right.
It never was about the numbers. It never was about the figures. I mean, of course, all of us have in the back of our mind, we want, people to see our stuff and, be popular or whatever. But for me, it was just like, oh my God, I love these songs. We talked about the type of music I'm creating videos of stuff I love to do.
Right.
And that's how I was able to be consistent in it, because it never felt like, oh, this is work, or I'm trying to keep up and trying to get popular, and oh, this is working, this is not working. I just kept doing it, and that's what I did. So, yeah.
Guess that's what we have to do, man. We got to keep pushing forward.
Keep pushing, man. Keep it pushing. Keep it going. That consistency.
Yep. So if you are out there, you trying to do music, or you feeling discouraged, or you getting defeated, don't get defeated.
Don't get defeated, man. Keep it going.
That is a natural and normal emotion, but you have to persevere through it. Yeah.
Patience, perseverance, keep it going, consistency. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's from two people that's been in the music industry for a minute.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're still here. I'm sure we still have moments where we may be like, oh, well, that didn't do what I thought it would do.
Yeah.
But, we push through.
Well, that's a part of the process too. I mean, you can't, that's what we were talking about a while ago with patience and perseverance. Like, you can't short that process. That's going to be a part of it. Nothing is going to stay at 10 all the time.
Right.
It's just not the way things work. Whatever we're talking about, passion, love, relationships, like the whole thing when you first meet somebody and you that passion, how how it works.
So in love.
Yeah, okay. You're so in love and everything is perfect, and then 6 months, a year later, you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Kind of thing. It's that same sort of process with everything. I mean, and then of course you level out. It's just what I was speaking to. It's the hills and valleys. You have some really great times, you have some bad times, and that's just a part of it. And you got to understand that with whatever it is that you're going into.
Yeah, that's just life's journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Well, Terence.
Ash.
Why don't you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you?
Cool. So, yeah, if you're looking at me, you can find me on all my social media. I'm at Terence Fisher 1. You know what? I'm going to give y'all my phone number. No, I'm not. Think I'm crazy? No, I'm on all the social media platforms. Terence Fisher 1. You can look me up. I'm on YouTube. You can find, my YouTube channel at Music Space. Music spelled with a K. It's called Music Space. So you can find me there and pretty much all over social media. I mean, I'm easily found. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. That's the Music Space for this evening. Terence Fisher. Enjoyed, as always a pleasure.
Thank you, Ashley.
So stay tuned for next show. We're going to have something exciting, something new, something fresh.
Something new,
That's
something fresh.
That's what we do
Absolutely.
at the Music Space Podcast.
There you go.
All right, guys.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.